right, folks, back here on the JR the Bossman show, and as promised, I told you of a great guest online for us. I didn't want to jinx it, but he's here. He's the former coach of the Jets and the Chiefs, and now the coach of Arizona State Sun Devils. Heard him on ESPN for so many years. It's the one like Coach Herm Edwards on the Bossman show. Coach Edwards, how are things out there in Tempe, man?
We're going well right now. We're on our off-season program. It's started for about a month. We actually start our training as far as spring practice in March. So we're gearing up to do that. But everything is going well right now. We had a good recruiting class, and we're excited about that. And really excited, I think, for the coaches to finally go on the grass and coach the players.
I hear that, Coach. Now, Coach, what does it mean for this opportunity at Arizona State to lead this program, step on this university, the community of Tempe in the Phoenix area, with your great personality and your great values and conviction to help this whole culture and build a brand out there for Arizona State and the Sun Devils?
Well, I think it was important for me to realize that this is my passion, and I realized that when I was away from the game, that eventually I was going to come back. This just happened to be a really good fit when you think about the people that are involved in this. It just started with Dr. Crow, the president, and Ray Anderson, the athletic director. I just think we had a vision for where we wanted to take the program to continue to build on what has been built here already. And going forward, I think that's the whole key. You know, we want to be one of those teams that's talked about a lot in the Pac-12. We want to have this competitive consistency where we have an opportunity to be talked about as one of those echelon teams when you think about Pac-12 football.
Now, Coach, when did you get the itch to come back into? I know coaches, you never want to get away from it. I know you probably go out on the field and be with your kids and be around the guys, and you find, oh, my God, I missed this. So at what point did it hit you, Coach, you want to get back into it?
When I was involved with the Under Armour game the last 8 years, I coached that Under Armour All-American game down there in Orlando. I was the head coach there, and Steve Mariucci was the other head coach. And dealing with those young senior athletes that were going on away to college, I can remember visiting with those guys at the end of the week, and they were all telling me, Coach, you need to go back. You need to go back and coach football. And I said, well, when the opportunity presents itself, the one that I feel is a good fit, I'll do it. And this happened to come up, and here I am coaching.
Now, Coach, being at ESPN as an analyst, Coach, how much did that help you now coming back for getting a fresh perspective on football, seeing different kind of plays, different kind of thoughts and processes? So how's it going to help you now going forward, being away and be able to kind of take a step back from it, now get back into it, taking all you took in, now use it on your players?
Well, you re-energize yourself when you stay away from the game. But you don't lose sight of how to coach the game. I mean, obviously, when you're sitting from where I sat at, you're watching pro football as well as college football. So you're really looking at the game a little bit different. You have a different perspective when you sit away from it. You're watching the situations that would come up in games that are played in college and pro football, and you're analyzing those situations. So I think sometimes you need to take a break and get away from it. There's a man I really respect. My coach in Philadelphia, his name was Dick Vermeil. He stayed away for 13 years and then came back and won a Super Bowl. So I think sometimes, when you get better perspective, sometimes when you stay away. John Gruden was out as long as I was out, 9 years. He's back with the Raiders now, so it's kind of a unique situation.
Now, how happy are your kids and your wife that you're back into it? That daddy and hubby's gonna be on the road and gonna be gone a lot now more than usual.
Well, I'm gonna be actually home more now than when I was working for ESPN because we live in California.
Oh, okay.
So I was making that cross, that jaunt across country every week. So you can imagine that's a lot of airplanes. Now at least I can come home every night. Before it was they'd see me maybe 2 days out of a week and I'd be gone working.
Yeah, Coach, I was just out in L.A. for the All-Star game. I just got back today, actually, so I'll tell you, I enjoyed being out.
I wasn't going to L.A., I was going to Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah.
From California.
Every day.
So you can imagine how far that is. When you're in Atlanta, so you got that same John. It's 5 hours easy, right? 6-hour flight, yeah.
Yes, I feel your pain, Coach, and there's but hey, thank God for Red Bull and Starbucks.
Well, you know what, and you know this, and this is why you do what you do. When you have passion for what you do, it's never work.
You
enjoy what you do, and I think that's the main thing. It's no different from myself when I was with ESPN. I had the ability to sit on television and talk about the game that I love in football, and now I'm back on the grass coaching it, and I really missed it, and I'm glad I've gotten this opportunity to come back.
Now, Coach, looking at the landscape of college football and looking at who you are as a person, how you yourself marketing the program, Coach, to guys in the Southwest, guys out on the West Coast, and guys nationally out here toward Atlanta in the South or up Northeast with Bristol. So, how you plan on marketing this program? And since you're the head man of it now.
Well, I think it's a Pac-12 conference, and it's pretty competitive when you think about some of the rich tradition the Pac-12 has. And look, I played in this conference when it was the Pac-8, and then it went to the Pac-10, and obviously it has some outstanding coaches. You know, David Shaw is one of them at Stanford, Chris Peterson, obviously at Washington, Chip Kelly's back coaching again in this conference. Kevin Sumlin just came and got involved in the conference as well. So there's a bunch of really great coaches, accomplished coaches in this conference. I think that it sells itself. I mean, when you think about all the players that play in this conference, that eventually, you're talking about pro football. There are a lot of players come out of this conference and actually play at the next level.
Exactly, and they're playing for you. Former pro football coach, former pro football player, they have to be like, hey, when you making that call to a parent or a kid, they have to be like, well, this guy can get me there. He knows what it takes on both ends. So they ought to help you out in recruiting as well. The fact that you played the game, you coached the game, and you've a trusted voice in the game of football.
Well, that's important, but I think the number one thing that's important for all of us is that 87% of the kids that end up coming to school here graduate. That's a whopping number, and I think that's what you sell to the parents. That we're going to make them complete athletes. They're going to be a student athlete. You know, that's their title, student athlete, not professional, but student athlete. And I think with the graduation rate here that we have is very enticing to a lot of families. This is a very diverse campus, one of the most diverse campuses in the country. So I just think when you come here and visit, you realize this is a great place to be educated at as well as play football.
Coach, I always love when we come out to Phoenix for the Hogs or with the Falcons when we play the Cardinals. It's always a great time to be in the Valley. I love it out there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. The weather's always pretty good around here.
Yeah, Coach, I don't want to deal with snow. And Coach, I know I'll get off topic real quick, but Coach, this year in Atlanta we had some snow here. And we were forward to a snow, Coach, and I couldn't leave my house. Okay.
Yeah, well, that doesn't happen a whole lot in Atlanta, but when it does, I can imagine what the havoc it can cause when you think about snow in Atlanta. That's never good.
Yes, indeed. Now, Coach, what type of young man do you want to bring to your program, and how are you going about building the culture, building that trust with your guys? That bond with those guys that trust you as their father figure. The next 4 to 5 years, they get that degree from Arizona State University.
Well, I think a young man that really has the ability to be the best player he can be, and wants to be the best player he can be, and be a complete student athlete here. We want guys with great character and guys that have passion for the game of football. Obviously, that has to be one of the criteria when you come here. And I think for the most part, the kids that we were involved with this year recruiting, we got a number of those type of kids, and that's what we want to build. We want to build a program that can sustain itself for the generations to come that follow these guys. So I just think that, it's a place that it meets all your needs as far as education-wise, as far as the competition level that you're going to play in, and hopefully we'll get more guys like that want to come here and play.
Yes, indeed. Now, Coach, I want to ask you, because I know you have been very busy out there as being new head coach at Arizona State. So, if you could, Coach, what's been your typical day out? You've been the coach out there. I know you is it recruiting calls, booster calls, or conference? How has it been for you?
A little bit. You do a little bit of everything. Obviously, starts for me with my exercise in the morning. I get here around 4:00, 4:15, and start my exercise, and then you get with the coaches, you do your day's work. You're always in the process of evaluating players, whether it's the players you have on your team now or it's the 2019 just left a staff meeting where we were looking at the 2019 kids. So you're constantly recruiting. We are actually practicing football in about 2 weeks from now. They're in the classroom now twice a week with the coaches. They're doing their conditioning program along with their running and their weightlifting. So it's a full schedule.
I hear you. And, Coach, last one I got for you is, Coach, what's going to be your biggest adjustment, Coach, get back into the college game from being in the NFL? What's going to be your biggest adjustment, you think, for the field?
The biggest adjustment is the length of the games, college football. College football games last 4 hours.
Yeah.
The National Football League lasts about 3 because of TV time. So the games are a little bit longer. But other than that, you still play with 11 players, right? It's tackle football.
Yes, sir.
So I think I'll be okay. Yeah, I think I'll be okay.
Well, Coach Edwards, it's a pleasure to have you on this show. Coach, like I was telling you off the air, I've been a fan of yours for years, man, and I'm so happy for you. And I look forward to having you on again and real soon and supporting your team and seeing the great things you do for those Sun Devils out there, Coach.
Thank you, my friend. Nice visiting with you.
All right, folks. Herm on the Bossman Show, people.
All right,
Alright, folks, back to the Gerald the Boss Man Show. We're going back out to the Big West Conference of UC Irvine Anteaters. Coach, what's Turner on the Bossman Show? Coach Turner, how are things out there in Irvine, man?
Man, it's nice out here. It's about 70 degrees and sunny today, like it always is.
Hey, Coach, I was out there yesterday for the All-Star game. I was out there.
Oh, you were? Hey, man, I've lived in Georgia, and it's nice there, but it might not be any nicer anywhere in the world than it is out here in Southern California.
I enjoyed my 4 days out there, Coach. I hate that they're over.
Yeah, it's pretty good here.
Yes, indeed. Now, Coach, you're 9-4 in Big West play right now. Currently on a winning streak of 6 out of the last 7 games here. Lost the game in a little bit in there, but you're 1-6-7 right now, Coach. So talk to us about what's been the key factors for your play in conference play and this streak you're on right now for this run you're on, winning 6-7 right now.
Yeah, I got a young team. We have no seniors, and we start 4 sophomores, but we've got an excellent defensive team, and I feel like that gives us a chance at this time of year on just about every night to be successful. My guys are bought in, and we defend at a really high rate. I've got really good quickness on the perimeter, and I've got length and shot blocking on the interior, so we give ourselves a chance every night.
Yes, indeed. And then you feel like the non-conference slate playing quality opponents has helped you. You got in the Big West play, because you play a quality team around the Big West. Play was a quality team pretty much. You're playing every night, and you're all near each other. So you feel like that non-conference is helping you right now?
Well, we knew we were going to have a really hard schedule this year, and we were forced into that because we've had success. And so I thought this schedule would be too much for a young team, and in some ways it was. At one point we were 5-12. But right now our non-conference strength of schedule is ranked 6th in the country in terms of how difficult it is. And I do think that's made my young team realize all the little things we have to do well to win. And I hope that's paying off now. It's hurt us here around campus because people don't think we're very good because our record's still not very good. But we're actually at the same point right now in our conference as we were last year when we won it. And I know that we're a good team and we're going to keep getting better.
Now, Coach, this time of year in practice, are you more so doing film work? Or are you still kind of, since you're a younger team, are you trying to do more drill work to make them better now? Or are you much more trying to teach them via the classroom and film?
We do a little bit of both. This is a really academic-oriented university, and so I've got guys who are used to studying and who are smart, adaptable people. So we did watch video today of our last game for about 30 minutes, and that's really our routine. I feel like this is a young group that's going to keep learning through all the experiences we have, and so we do that, and then we practice. We stayed on the floor today for about an hour and 40 minutes after that, and I feel like my guys worked really hard for that entire time, and we'll do that each day until the season's over, and then we'll take a little break and keep doing that in the off season, I hope.
Now, Coach, think about this you have this young team here, Coach. You have to be happy knowing in the future that, hey, in a year or two, a year or more, and get stronger and maturing more, that your team can be very scary to play for any opponent.
Yeah, we knew, coming into this year, it was going to be a big adjustment with every guy on our team really in a new role, and that has been true. And I feel like we're just now getting more comfortable with all that, and if we can keep everybody together, which is not easy to do these days in college basketball with all the transfers and all that, but we've had great continuity here, and if we keep everybody together, this group has a chance to be really good for the next couple of years.
And also, it helps you in recruiting, coach. 'Cause think about this. Well, I talk to people all the time. Like when a team like your team is young and up and coming, you might be a grad transfer away, or somebody want an opportunity away from just getting you a world beater that really can help you at the mid-major level, win your league and scare some guys if you get in that big tournament in March.
Yeah, we're conscious of that. But right now we've got no seniors, so I don't expect to have any scholarships open. And, we've created a good family atmosphere. I mean, all the guys in our program are bought in and doing the things I ask them to do, and I think that we're benefiting from that continuity. So we'll see. I mean, we have to be opportunistic at the mid-major level to try to break through. And we've come close here. We broke through and made the NCAA tournament in 2015, and we're closing the first round against Louisville. I think we're going to be close to that again soon.
Okay, let's turn around the Boston show to UC Irvine Anteaters here with us with me. Now, coach, looking at your stats, coach, I see balance going across the board. You have 5 guys averaging over 8 points per game, 3 guys in double figures specifically, along with balance rebounding, which 5 guys average over 3 a game. So I can only imagine what you were preaching in your practices about sharing the basketball, taking that glass, and defending like crazy and owning the boards there.
Yeah, we've really made a defensive emphasis over the last several years, as a way of establishing our program and our team's, connectivity, our togetherness, our toughness. And the guys here, I think, enjoy that identity now. Every player wants to score, and we don't try to play a slow-down pace, but we do take great pride in the way we perform on every possession on defense. So I think that can be a winning formula. The young guys we've got 3 sophomores who are pushing double figures right now in terms of their scoring averages, and I think all those guys' scoring averages are going to continue to go up as they continue to get better and stronger and older.
You got that right, Coach. And talk about your player development, because I think at the mid-major level, you coach do a great job of player development. And how much you emphasize that in recruiting when you got to bring guys in about how we will develop you as a player, give you opportunity if you put in the work to play professionally and further your career in basketball, if you so choose to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I've made my way in this game because I've helped players get better. And that's been my story. When I was a young coach, I was at Wake Forest University when Tim Duncan was only 18 years old. So I got a chance to work with him, daily for 3 years at Wake. And my last year in the NBA was Steph Curry's rookie year. And so when I recruit guys, I talk about those 2 players because both of them had very few scholarship offers coming out of high school. And both of them became, the best player in the world at some stage. They're both 2-time NBA MVPs because they just kept getting better. And, all the assistants I have do a great job. They get on the floor. They sweat with the guys. We work really hard to invest on the court in our players' improvement. And we've got now a great track record. All the guys who've been in our program, have worked at it, who stayed with it, have consistently got better. And I think that's something that we're really most proud of, along with our graduation rate and, the success we've had on the court. So we emphasize that player development component of our program every single day.
And also, this is people development too, Coach, because I feel like the Big West has a great universities with great academic background. So you go to a Big West school, you're going to leave with a great degree, great networking, an opportunity to play great basketball in a great state of California and enjoy great weather every day.
Yeah, I mean, the University of California is a world-class academic university, and our guys buy into that when they come here. We've got all different types of people here, populations. The diversity here is incredible. You already mentioned the weather. I mean, when guys graduate from this place, I feel like the world is open to them. Not just California, but anywhere in the world is going to respect the degree that my players get. And that makes it fun to coach here, and it makes it fun to recruit guys here.
You got that right, Coach. And I want to talk to you about this week's games you got. You got a home game against UC Santa Barbara. Joe Pasnick and those guys are leading at the top of the league right now. Then you got a road trip to Hawaii. Now, what will you be emphasizing to your team this week as you get the big home game against UC Santa Barbara and Joe Pasnick and those guys up there in Isla Vista? Then you got to go out to Hawaii. So how do you get your guys to stay focused, not think of Hawaii as a fun trip, but a business trip?
Yeah, we've made that trip a few years in a row now. We've had some success playing there. The first game, the next one, it's on Thursday against Santa Barbara. That's a big one for us. They're half game ahead of us, but they've got to come play us on our home court. So they beat us already. It was a close game, and they have a very veteran team. My guys want to establish themselves again as the top of the league. So that'll be a great challenge for us. We should have a good crowd here. We got to turn around 2 days later and play in Hawaii, which is a 5-hour flight away and 3-hour time difference. That's a great challenge, but our players have done it before, so we know what it's going to take to go over there and perform at a level that allows us to win. And Hawaii just beat us last week, too, so we may have a little extra motivation for both those games.
You got there right, Coach. Last one for you I got for you is, I love the Big West Conference. A lot of my listeners may not know about the Big West like I do. So you could explain to the listeners out here the quality of coaching, the quality of talent out in the Big West Conference. The people may miss not paying attention to the guys out there.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I've lived in Georgia, and I grew up on the East Coast, and when I was there, I didn't know much about this league either. But the world's gotten smaller now. It's easier to keep up with people in places that are further away. And as you've said, there's great coaches here, there's great universities, there's wonderful basketball. We have a chance, we think, to make a better name for our university and for our program through having some success and getting to the NCAA tournament and doing some damage. That's what we're trying to do.
Got there right, Coach. I thank you for your time this evening, Coach, and I look forward to seeing you guys playing on TV, man, keeping a good eye on you guys in Hawaii and Santa Barbara, and I hope you guys get to those wins and win that title, man.
Hey, well, I really appreciate you having me and UC Irvine on your show. Thank you.
You're welcome, Coach Turner. All right, folks, we're back in the JR the Bossman show, joined by a friend of the show from ProFootballWeekly.com. He writes there, catch him at his work there. I follow him on Twitter. Eric Edholm is my man out of Chicago. Eric Edholm, how you doing, Eric?
All good, man. It's it's a good time of year. It's a little in between things NFL wise, but we'll get started here pretty soon.
Yeah, I got to go to the NBA All-Star game and fly back to Atlanta, so I enjoyed that. The Atlanta Hawks are off onto Friday, so I'm happy about that, man. Some time to myself a little bit here.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we'll have the combine starting next week, NFL-wise. We'll get some contract information pretty soon on some free agents, so a lot going on in the NFL eventually.
I want to talk to you about the Bears hiring Matt Nagy. What prompted them to hire Matt Nagy? Was this more so to go away from what Foxy was, or this is who they really wanted all along?
I think it was about a fit, and the fit was with general manager Ryan Pace. Personality-wise, skill set-wise, just having that better communication. I don't think there was a bad relationship between Pace and John Fox, but I think at some point they were on different wavelengths, and that was something that was important for them for their next hire. And they had received a lot of positive vibes about Matt Nagy before they met with him. Just the background work that they were doing on him towards the end of the season when it was pretty obvious that John Fox wasn't going to be back. And then when they met, those two guys hit it off. And look, that's only part of the equation. He's got to be able to coach, right? But I do think that there was a comfort level there that they felt pretty good about, and they liked the coaching chops as well once they'd done all their research on him. So we'll see. I mean, he's a young guy, but he's very talented.
Do you feel like he's be able to kind of replicate what they did with Alex Smith in Kansas City with Trubisky and make him better footwork-wise, open it up for him, give him options, spread options, like he did in Kansas City with Tyreek Hill and Hunt, using Cohen and Howard there?
Yeah, just scheming things up better and giving him more options. Now, that includes getting more talent. I think that's going to be crucial for that offense. I mean, whether it's bringing in complementary players like an Albert Wilson, who was in Kansas City, knows the system, can step right in as a slot guy or something like that, or whether it's drafting some wide receiver talent as well. I don't know what they'll do at tight end. I assume that they like their young guys, Shaheen and I would say maybe Sims as well, but we didn't know what to make of him after last season. And they'll use those running backs, of course, too, but some of it is going to be similar, I think, to what the Rams did with Jared Goff. So, yes, they'll incorporate elements of that Kansas City offense. They have Mark Helfrich to add elements of the Oregon offense. It's going to be a mismatch, but, it's going to be fun to see what they come up with, because I think Trubisky has talent. He's just got to have better options in the passing game.
I remember when I had on Hub earlier in the year, Hub said a win for the Bears would be going 6-10 and 5-11. I think he was right. And Fox, he still got fired. So it's like, well, I already know that's phone job. Eric's back with us. And Eric, what I was saying was before we had lost connection there is that, I had Hub on the show earlier in the year, and he talked about the Bears going 5-11, 6-10 team is a win for them. Trying to play a rookie quarterback eventually down the road. This happened in September when I had on Hub. So do you feel like his Hub did it? There was kind of a win for him. Foxy got fired, but they kind of played up to their expectations pretty much this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what to make of this team right now until we see the bigger picture. But last season they were a competitive 3-5 team. They beat the Steelers. They had some games they could have won. So the feeling was, boy, if they could beat the Green Bay Packers in week 10, maybe there's a little run in them. It didn't happen that way, though. They fell flat after the bye, and and other than a good late season performance against the Bengals, really didn't have much to hang their hats on. So, it's hard what to make of last season. Trubisky's numbers were not exceptional, but you saw some flashes of talent there, and the defense is going to be good next year, and the special teams are bound to be better. So there's certainly some potential to be a more complete football team, but at the same time, it's a tough division. Vikings, Packers are going to be back, I think. Lions will be good, even with a new head coach. I mean, I don't know what the ceiling is for them going into 2018.
You got that right, and I know somebody's gonna have a happy 2018 is AJ McCarron. He won arbitration and will now become a free agent now. So, what teams do you think they'll probably look at him and be like, "Hey, we can do something to this guy and get him on a deal like the Bears gave Mike Glennon before they got Trubisky in the draft?"
Yeah, and hopefully get more out of him than the Bears get out of Glennon. But yeah, I mean, the usual suspects, right? The Cleveland Browns obviously tried to trade for him. I know it's a new regime there, but could they view him as a placeholder for whoever they draft at 1 or 4? Yeah, they could. It's a possibility. Hugh Jackson, the head coach, likes him, wants to work with him again. So that's one team. The Arizona Cardinals, I would think, have to be on that list. And then you start thinking about teams like the Jets or the Bills or other teams that may not get their first option in free agency, or maybe a long shot like the Vikings, and say, are they a possibility? Yeah, maybe. But, yeah, I would say the market's going to be somewhat limited, but the more quarterbacks you have, the more unknowns there are, and it's the more sort of fascination with how all these pieces are going to fall.
Exactly, and I feel like the Kirk Cousins domino is going to be determines everything. I think it's going to either the Jets or Denver. What's your feeling on that prediction right there, and the Kirk Cousins pretty much controls the free agent quarterback market?
And you said Cousins to Denver? That was what you just said?
Yeah, Cousins to Denver or to the Jets. One or the other.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Jets might be willing to shell out every last dollar to him and build a franchise around him. What's interesting when I've kind of called around the league, there's a sense that Kirk Cousins, sure, he'd love to maximize his earning potential, but let's also note, he's made $44 million the last 2 years. I mean, he's done okay for himself, so I think there's a feeling that Cousins wants to go somewhere where, yes, he'll be well supported, staff, a defense that can help him out. Unit 2. But also somewhere where he feels like he's got, more of an organization behind it. And, that's a hard thing to read from the outside, and things change so quickly in this league. But I think the feeling is that, money's great, but if a team isn't going to be there for you 3 years down the road, is it worth what you thought it was worth? No. He wants to find somewhere where he can be the quarterback for 8 years, 7 years, 6, 5, whatever it is. So that's going to be part of the equation. Denver is a possibility for that. That's what they're going to play up to him. They're going to say, we've got your back. That's, I think, Denver's pitch, because they may not be able to offer exactly what the Jets do because of some restrictions like the salary cap.
Exactly. And also, like you mentioned briefly about the Vikings in the NFC North, what's going on with Teddy Bridgewater's contract? Did it toll, or is they still trying to figure that out with the NFL? Because if it tolls, he's back. And that means Keenum and Bradford won't be back. But in your opinion, Eric, who do you think is going to be the quarterback of the Vikings opening day? Because I just don't know. It's too tricky right now for me.
It is, absolutely. We don't know yet, I believe. At least I haven't heard. I could be wrong. I apologize if I misquoted, but I don't believe we've heard technically whether Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a free agent. So I believe if it hasn't, there's a strong chance he will be, that this contract will be considered like McCarron void after this year. So, and I don't think the Vikings are going to try to trap him in any way. They've been very respectful towards Teddy, and they've tried to, make things good for him as well. And there's a lot of love for him in that organization. They're going to try to invite him back, I would guess, on some sort of 1 or 2 year deal in the $8 to $10 million range. So that leads me to believe that, they're going to have to get somebody else in there just to compete. I don't think it's going to be a rookie. I suspect it's going to be a free agent. They'd love it if they could keep Case Keenum, but, do you franchise him and pay him a boatload of money for a year and then have a lot of money invested in that quarterback position? I don't know. That's a tough thing to do. So they may be hamstrung a little bit. They want to get deals done with Stephon Diggs. They want to get deals done with, Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr and all the other free agents they still have yet to take care of. They're an okay cap situation now, but it's getting a little dicey to make it all work without making some hard cuts.
Yeah, you got that right, Eric. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, my fellow OVC member. I feel like he played himself to a degree, Eric, and I'm going to tell you why. I feel like he should have played the franchise tag game with the 49ers. Force him to tag him, so that way you get tagged, and your salary increases the next year, and then so that way your contract, the first 3 years is going to be, hey, the franchise tag those 3 years. That's my first 3 years of my deal, guaranteed. No other question to ask. Then we do our contract. Put the voidable years in the background, make it sound good, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like he sold himself short, him and Don Yee did, man.
Yeah, obviously getting the kind of money he did after 7 career starts is unprecedented. So that's the other side of it, which is, hey, he did pretty well for himself, too. Now, we could look back 3, 4, 5 years from now and say it was a bargain. These guys are routinely going to make $30 million before we know it. So, it's a dangerous, risky game for him to play the way you said. Could it have ended up more lucrative down the road? Sure, absolutely. Look how it worked out for Cousins. That Washington was the one, the Redskins were the ones who misplayed it. They didn't, assuming they had interest in retaining him. But, yeah, that's for a guy with as little experience and a guy, I think, who just felt like he was in the right place after this trade happened. I think he's got to be pretty thrilled with how it's all worked out. So the pressure's on him, of course, now. And he's got to go out and perform, and they've got to help him out, get some better talent around him as well.
The final question for Eric is this, buddy. What's the buzz on Le'Veon Bell? I'm getting a sense from what I'm hearing about people I've asked and sources that they're not talking. So are they going to tag him? Or are they going to let him just see what's out there in free agency and then have him come back to them and see if they are matched or not? So what are you hearing on Le'Veon Bell and Steelers right now?
My best guess would be that they tag him, and even though Bell has threatened to sit out the season or retire, I don't think he's going to voluntarily give up that kind of money. they would have until, July 15th to get a long-term deal done. But there is this pressure maybe to get something done in February before the free agent period opens. So I think the Steelers have made it clear they want him to be a Steeler for life. Kevin Colbert, the GM, said as much. But money talks, and they've got to be able to, the contract demands Bell was floating last year, number one running back plus a top 12 receiver salary. I mean, they can't be close. There's no way. And that position just doesn't have the shelf life to give that kind of security, I don't think, realistically. So it's tough. And, I think they'll get something done, but Bell wants a lot of money, so that you have to take that into consideration as well.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, you catch Eric at Pro Football Weekly. And Eric, do you have any articles you want to throw out there for my listeners to check you out in the near future here?
Yeah, we'll be getting into the Combine next week. We've got a lot of great draft stuff planned. There's some good stories this year's class, a lot of intriguing quarterbacks. So stay with us at the website, and there's going to be a lot going on there.
All right, Eric. Thank you as always, my brother. Be safe out there, man.
Thank you.
All right, Eric Edholm here, the Bossman of People Pro Football Weekly. Check them out always on Twitter, Pro Football Weekly. Alright, folks, we're back in the JR the Bossman show. We're joined by NFL analyst and writer for the MMQB and Sports Illustrated, Andy Benoit on the Bossman show. Andy, how is life today, my friend?
It's very good, Jerry. I guess you and I were talking. It's probably not as good as yours today, though, because I guess you flew home from the All-Star game recently.
Yes, I did, man. Hey, it was a great weekend, a lot of networking, a lot of interviews to play on the show this week. So, hey, it was a good trip. But thank God for Red Bull and Starbucks coffee. I'm making it, and B12 pills. I'm here.
Well, good. I'm glad. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, indeed. Well, Andy, I want to talk to you about what my good friend Mr. Blank is doing to Matt Ryan. He said and floated out on a letter better here at AJC about how he wants Matt to take a team-friendly contract. That's he started the narrative of trying to turn the fans on his side to make Matt take less money. For what he's done for his franchise, Andy, I feel like that's not a good move. Give Matt what he's worth. He's earned it. The quarterback market is ballooning. Pay the man. You worry about the cap later.
I don't disagree with that. I think it's hard to get a quarterback on a great deal. There are certain things you just don't get a bargain on in life, and usually, not always, but usually a quarterback is one of them. So I'm sure Arthur Blank wants Matt Ryan to take a team-friendly deal, and that could just be in the way they structure the money, and it's all the same to Ryan in the end. That gets into some of the nuances of the cap. But the bottom line is this. They've got what every team needs to have and aspires to have, and that's a quarterback, a franchise quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with. And that's going to cost what it costs at the end of the deal. And I'm sure Arthur Blank, with all the success he's had in business and now in the NFL, he understands that.
Yes, indeed. And business-wise, it's going good for Arthur Blank with that great stadium that we now have. Hopefully, Super Bowl here next year. Now, speaking of that, why isn't the Falcons more of a quote-unquote free destination? Atlanta's a good city to live in, fast-moving city. At least if the Falcons are out in Flowery Branch, way out the way. So why not so many guys want to sign his free agent and make it destination? Because Atlanta's, a lot of them live in Austin. He live here when the season's over. Why don't they want to play here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they've been okay getting free agents there. You're right. It's a warm weather area. Football's big in the South. A lot of NFL players are from the South. That's why so many agents live in Atlanta. So it's a top market for a football city for sure. And I think Atlanta's a destination teams would want to play for. They've got the QB and they have weapons on offense, and then defensively, they do an excellent job of rotating personnel and using everyone to their fullest strength. And it's not an overly complex scheme, and that's in a positive way I say that. They really allow players to play fast and play to the best of their abilities. And when you rotate a lot, you don't have to ask guys to do things they can't do. So guys are put in a position to succeed, and all of that makes it an attractive destination for free agents. Having said that, JR, they don't have a ton of needs this offseason either, and it's not a great free agent class. So if they come out of this free agency having found 2 or 3 guys, role player types, that's not going to be a negative thing necessarily. In fact, in some ways that could be a positive because it's not necessarily a free agent group you want to throw a bunch of money at, especially if you don't have any glaring holes on your depth chart.
Exactly. Now, speaking of our depth chart here with the Falcons, Andy, where are some areas they could use some more depth at, or maybe an improvement or an upgrade here or there that you see on our roster so far?
I think defensive line is one, in part because they have 4 guys who are free agents now, and it's mostly all depth. I think Don Terry Poe's the only guy who started most of the games or played most of the snaps last season and is a free agent up front. It's a young defense overall. It's got a lot of speed at a lot of positions. They're very good at corner, which most defenses are not deep at that position. They're fast at linebacker. They've got some edge rushers now. So that's a complete defense. And then offensively, with both of those running backs and building around Julio Jones and wide receiver Matt Ryan, I mean, this truly, Jared, this team is rock solid. And they are in the unique position. There's about 1 or 2 teams every year that you can truly say this about. And Atlanta, I think, is one of those teams this year. And every team says they do this, but really only 1 or 2 are actually able to. They can take the best player on their board this draft, and they can probably do that round after round because aside from defensive line depth, which already is not bad, they've still got guys you can play with. Aside from that, there are no glaring holes to fill, so they can look ahead to whose contracts are coming up, and they can look at replenishing depth and maybe developing guys and taking a chance on some guys because this is a luxury pick draft for the Falcons.
You got that right, and I'm concerned about this, Andy. Tevin Coleman's contract. You've already paid Devontae Freeman. Thomas Dimitroff said he wants to pay Coleman as well. Now, if you're trying to talk about signing Matt Ryan to his deal, he needs a new deal. You got Devontae Freeman on a long-term deal. And they're trying to get Tevin Coleman money. The Falcons are going to end up capping themselves out eventually, and it's going to suffer defensively, which is what I'm fearing.
Yeah, it's possible. The cap will always be going up for the next couple of years at least as the new money's trickling in. It's a rising cap. That helps. But the agents, they know that too, and they're going to be asking for more money for their players. And running back's a unique position because a lot of teams, for a lot of teams, a running back's pretty interchangeable. If there were one team that could afford to go and sign 2 guys, I think Atlanta and New Orleans are probably the 2 teams that have the type of dynamic running backs you want to have to pay long term. That's a good problem to have. New Orleans, they don't have to deal with it for a while because Alvin Kamara is only entering his 2nd year. They've still got Coleman on the rookie deal there in Atlanta. That's not going to last forever. And if you ask me, JR, I think Tevin Coleman is the more valuable of their 2 running backs by a very narrow margin. I mean, it comes down to style of play and preference. But what you can get with Coleman that you don't get with a lot of running backs in the NFL is the ability to reach the perimeter consistently in the ground game. He has a long stride. He covers a lot of ground when he accelerates. And then the ability to move him all over the formation, especially when you go into spread empty backfield formations, which Matt Ryan is very comfortable doing. Coleman's a movable chess piece and a mismatch maker. And you get him on a linebacker, he wins every time. You get him on a cornerback, which happens at times, that means you're getting a wide receiver somewhere else on the linebacker. And all of that stuff gets down to matchup making. And Tevin Coleman is a unique and really valuable piece for that because he's so good in the passing game.
Andy, I also agree with you so much, man, because he reminds me of a poor man's Darren Sproles or Le'Veon Bell, to a degree, Corey Clement with the Eagles, who they do that same kind of thing. It can go run their whole route tree, cause matchups. Because I saw this year when they put Tevin out wide, Julio in the slot with Hooper on the outside of Julio or Sanu, and the nightmares it caused. And also it caused them to declare whether they're in man or zone too by doing that. So he's a great weapon, actually, a great chess piece to have on the field.
Absolutely, and you can do that with any guy. I mean, the Patriots put James Devlin, their fullback, out wide, And as you said, you alluded to, that gives the manner zone indicator from the defense just by who they put across from him. And with a veteran QB like a Tom Brady, or in this case, Matt Ryan, that's really valuable. Now, the difference, though, is James Devlin out wide, he's not getting the ball. Tevin Coleman out wide, not only is he a threat to get the ball, but he's a threat to get the ball anywhere. He can catch the ball on the move as a route runner, like he's a wide receiver, and he can get open against zone at times. I mean, he is a really refined receiving threat, so he's basically a wide receiver on the field who also happens to be, in my opinion, your best ball carrier.
I agree with you there, too. I do, like, the fans love Devontae Freeman, but as a former football player myself and as a football guy, as you said, Tevin Coleman is more valuable and a better runner and a better skill set than Devontae Freeman is. Devontae is a great runner, a powerful guy, but also, and I think he shot confidence-wise because he had all his fumbles this year, in the end of the year. I think his confidence shot as well, was holding on that football.
Yeah, that can get into a guy's head at times, and that's always an interesting discussion is what do you do if you're a coach on that? Because fumbles are isolated plays so often, but they're such costly plays. You lose so much field position. You obviously lose the chance to score. You give the opponent one more possession. They're huge. They're the worst thing that can happen. They're worse than interceptions because usually there's a bigger field position swing with a fumble. So what do you do about that? That's a tough one. And if there are Devontae Freeman fans out there that think what we're saying is ridiculous, and how could you not like Freeman more? He's got better stats. I get that, and your argument for Freeman, the best one you can make, is there might not be a better outside zone runner in football. We're talking stretch handoffs, the Alex Gibbs one plant and cut and one hit and go, the stuff that Atlanta does really well in their running game. Freeman's a better pure ball carrier than Coleman. I think Coleman's the better all-around and more valuable football player. Either one of those guys, they're both top 10 running backs to me, maybe top 7 or 8 running backs.
Andy, I'm going to say I love when the fans come up to me at the Falcon tailgates and tell me, try to talk to me in fan speak. I'm like, hey, I speak in football speak. I played the game. I can show you the tape what I'm talking about on the all 22s. Because, see, I'll pull up my iPad, Andy, and show the fans, like, you think I'm wrong? Well, I'm going to show you this on all 22. Watch the film with me. Because I love when fans have these wild premonitions and theories. They come and they call into the show or they come to the tailgates. I'm like, that makes no sense. I'm telling you from a football guy perspective, not a fan perspective. You don't see it that way. All you see is the numbers. I see the game inside the game.
It's a matchup game, and the numbers are a reflection of how the matchups go. But really, when watching football, I think the way that the smartest way to perceive it is what are teams trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? In the NFL, so often what you try is what you get because everyone's at such a high level and the execution is so crisp. But people, or rather, let's say teams and coaches, they tell you what they think of their players and what they think of the opponent by what they're trying to do. And you can see that with the way teams line up and the plays they call and the designs. Where the ball goes, I don't want to say it's secondary, but the game of football begins in the pre-snap phase and how you're matching up and trying to control the action with your opponent. And the more pieces you have that you can do that with. And Atlanta, we could talk about their defense too, JR, and how versatile they're getting at some of those secondary positions. Guys like Keanu Neal, Desmond Trufant, of course, guys that can cover and all over the field in different spots. That's where football is. And that stuff cannot get reflected in statistics very often. Even something like Tevin Coleman lining up out wide, and that's influencing the defense, and maybe that creates an opportunity for an Austin Hooper or someone inside or a Mohamed Sanu. That's football right there. And the stats, they'll show Mohamed Sanu gets the catch and the yardage, but it really is a team sport because of how much one matchup relates and dictates to another matchup.
Andy, I'm so glad you said that here on the show because, Andy, you also know how often I fight that battle with our fans here in Atlanta about the things I say about far as the game-wise, the pre-snap phase, the coverages, all that kind of good stuff, because, finally somebody sees it my way, too. you know?
Well, it's interesting because so much of one of the things I was taught when I went and learned all this stuff at NFL Films. I'm still learning. I've got a big learning process to go. And actually, Dan Quinn's someone I spend time with every year, learn from him. And when you talk to someone like Dan Quinn, you realize how much more you've got to learn, how much more there is to the game. These guys, these head coaches, are big-time experts and some of the best teachers of anything out there in our country. But what I was learning, what I was taught up front, and one of the things I learned is so much of this stuff really isn't opinion-based. And we present everything like opinions now, have to have a hot take and all that. A lot of this just is football. And it's not an opinion what coverage they're playing. It's not an opinion how they're lining up. It's often not an opinion about can this guy cover that guy or not. This stuff, 90% of it is self-evident on film, and it's just a matter of understanding it and learning it. It's hard to do. It takes a long time to learn this stuff. There's 22 moving pieces in a confined area of space, and it all happens very quickly, and every piece is different from the next. It's not like chess, where your bishop's the same as my bishop. Everyone's got different pieces. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a really fun process. And it's one of those, the more you know, the more you realize I have a lot more to learn.
Now, Andy, have you seen on tape where with the Falcons, they're playing more man in the cover 3 or single high safety than they have in the past? Because Neal can cover man in the slot. Ricardo Allen can do it as well. Trufant can. Alfred can. Brian Poole can. Even my man from Tennessee, Bleedy Ray Wilson can cover now. He couldn't cover in Tennessee. What happened? He can't to the Falcons. So it's like, we're playing more man now. Coach Quinn is going away from that cover 3 in Seattle now and playing more, even doing a blitz every now and again as well.
Yeah, they are. And that started last year. They played a lot more man coverage, and it went very well for them. I did think that one issue, like in the Super Bowl, and they were very good in the game against New England. It was unfortunate for them the way it went down the stretch and just a perfect storm. But they played so much man-to-man coverage, and they had 99 snaps in that game. When you play man-to-man, you exhaust the defense a little quicker because not only are you running with a player for the duration of the play, you've got to go everywhere he goes, and you're reacting to him. But if that player lines up somewhere else, he lines up on the other side of the field on the next play, now you're jogging across the field between plays, following him around at all times. So the depth we talked about with the Atlanta's defense and their ability to toggle back into cover 3 zone at times, which I thought they did a very nice job of this season. They played a little bit less man this year down the stretch and a little more cover 3 versus last year. But overall, your point, JR, I agree with it completely. It's not an opinion either. This stuff is what it is. They're playing more man coverage than they used to, and you could even argue that their foundation is now man-to-man. You could argue that. I think they do an excellent job of going single high man and cover 3, which is single high zone. They're very good in both of them.
And Andy, I saw even some cover 4 this year and cover 2 as well, which usually you don't see that from DQ. He's actually
you don't. Yeah. You don't, and most teams don't play cover 4 in the red zone, which each cornerback and then each safety essentially has 1/4 of the field, and teams like it in the red zone because you can't get beat deep there, so you can keep everything in front of you. Those safeties can break on the ball a little more aggressively. Dan Quinn has always been a guy who plays cover 3 in the red zone, which is very unusual. And now that I did see a little more cover 4 at times. There were some snaps at cover 2. I want to say, I have to go back and look. I believe they were in kind of quasi-prevent situations, 2-minute type situations, some change-ups. And the other thing that Dan Quinn will do, and it's often when Vic Beasley, when he's used as a spy, it comes out of this coverage, but he'll play 2-man, man-to-man across the board, 2 safeties deep. They rush 3, and they use Beasley as a spy on the quarterback. They've done that against Tampa Bay when they played Jameis Winston a few times. There are more multiple defense than we realize, but every defense changes it up, too, from snap to snap. I don't think there are many defenses that are as attached and sound in their foundation as Atlanta is, and that foundation for Atlanta is, I think we both agree, it's still their cover 3 and their cover 1 stuff and how good they are at toggling between them.
He got there right. Now, last one I got for Andy is this. Now, in the offseason here, should the Falcons sign my man Matty Ice, Money Matt Bryant, to a long-term deal? I know he's 42 years old, me 43. Should they give him a long lucrative deal? Because he can still kick the ball like crazy, especially in that Mercedes-Benz Stadium dome there.
Yeah, I'd absolutely sign Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan won the MVP 2 years ago. And
no, I saw Bryant.
Oh, Matt Bryan. I'm sorry. I thought you said Matty Ice. I'm thinking old Matt Ryan.
Oh no,
his nickname coming
it
up.
was funny you did something. The guys call him that too. Money
God,
and
you
Matty
understand.
Ice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's think of this. If you're a coach, just imagine you're a coach and you've got a field goal kicker you trust up to 55 yards, and it's your job to call plays and decide when to punt, decide what to do, decide how aggressive to be. If you've got a field goal kicker you can trust anywhere on the field, basically within reason, you're going to be a much more comfortable and creative and aggressive coach. So I would, assuming Matt Bryan can still kick, and I have no idea if he can. And I just watch guys and they kick it, they make it, or they miss. That's the extent of my special teams knowledge. But let's say they think he can still kick. I think having a kicker like that who you trust, and especially in clutch moments, that makes your whole team better because of the way you can coach the team now.
You got that right. Andy, I'm sorry, I got one more for you. I'm sorry about that. Steve Sarkisian. Do you trust him in year 2 to be the coordinator? Because I still don't trust him. I feel like he didn't find his way that good. He got it right in L.A., but in Philadelphia he got it wrong again. So especially on the goal line there. So can Sark with Greg Knapp being there now to help him? I don't know how much DQ gave him Knapp the power to help Sark, or Sark wants his help. Along with Matt Ryan, coupled with a good balance of play calling, so to keep the team going and flowing and get Julio the ball in the red zone.
Yeah, I think Sarkisian probably this offseason will look closer at how can I better marry up my running game and passing game. That's something Atlanta did so well under Kyle Shanahan, and they're equipped to do that. Anytime you're a good zone running team, you have a chance to be a good play action team, and I don't think Atlanta ever quite found their rhythm in that regard. And they didn't ever quite find their rhythm in some of the formationing and flexing out into spread formations. There wasn't a great nuance to their plays from snap to snap at times this year. I think that can be corrected. And my guess is Sarkisian, who's been in college, he hasn't spent much time in the NFL. I'm sure he learned a lot. They're very different games, the NFL and college. That gets overlooked. So I'm glad to see him get another shot at it. Certainly the offense, a spade's a spade. We can say the offense was better under Shanahan than Sarkisian. That doesn't mean we need to hit the reset button yet. I'd like to give this another shot. Let's remember, Matt Ryan, he struggled a little bit in his first year under Dirk Cutter, if I recall, and I certainly remember him struggling under Shanahan in his first year. So sometimes it's just a longer filling out process for a QB and coach, and that could be the case here.
Yes, Neil. Andy, I thank you for your time today on the show, man. You've been great. Good to talk to a football guy like myself, and I love your work on MMQB Sports Illustrated. Glad to have you on the show. Look forward to seeing you down the road and have you on the show again soon this year, man.
All right. Thanks, JR.
All right, folks. Andy Benoit on the Bossman Show. Check him out. MMQB Sports Illustrated.com.
Thank you.